Alright guys, so a while ago I covered a really cool, interesting game called Thrive Heavy Lies the Crown. Back then it was a demo, still in development. Now it's releasing into early access on the 6th of November. I have been sponsored by the developers and publishers Zugalu Entertainment and Playside to create a video to talk about my experience of getting earlier access to the game, playing through the various acts of the story, the plot, discovering the various gameplay mechanics and elements in technology, diplomacy with other regions, new commodities, new buildings, new population types. There's a massive amount of new content here compared to the last time I played the game about 6 months ago, and that's what we're going to do today essentially. We're going to dive into Thrive Heavy Lies the Crown, the latest iteration, the early access launching on the 6th of November. And if you're interested in what you see here, there is a link in the video description for you to click through, find out more, and buy it for yourself. Now let's dive straight in. So the game takes place in the land of Nysamor, and you can play all this in single-player solo or with up to 3 other people in 4-player multiplayer to explore every region in this map, develop a new town to make use of its resources, developing commodities to trade with other regions and other players if you're in multiplayer, and develop these towns into higher tier towns, accessing new technology, and eventually getting to a point where you can send a caravan out and actually start expanding into new regions to get access to new resources and commodities as well. And all of that ends up into an end game where you're developing into military might, building armies, and sending those armies out to fight the main enemy of the game, Remaxia, who is kind of like the kind of overall ruler of this land, Nysamor, and you have to defeat Remaxia to essentially win the game. Either you go down decisions of benevolence for your people, which develops actually technology and buildings in one way, or tyrannical in another way to access other types of buildings. And all these decisions you make have an impact into all the events that happen later in the game in the narrative story as well. There's a very good tooltip system and a tutorial to take you through everything you need to know, the mechanics and everything, which, as you can see, I really desperately needed. And eventually, you know, this is a fantastical realm. You go through something called the Surge, which can affect you positively, helping production, or negatively with things like a beast spawning that you need to deal with. There's a tech tree system, which I really like, very intuitive. You get access to those higher tiers depending on the level of your keep, of course, and you have to really prioritize. Think about which technologies you want to research first. Some are more powerful than others, and some are just necessary. I mean, getting access to siege equipment is a tier 4 technology. So really cool little system here, and something called masteries, which is a dynamically event-driven access to certain bonuses that you can get essentially, which is really quite cool. There's a fire system in the game, which can basically happen at any time, any moment. Stockpiles are quite vulnerable. Certain technologies have debuffs to vulnerabilities to fire, and if you don't have wells and firehouses nearby, they can spread very quickly indeed, believe me. But from a city building just perspective, it's fun to build. It's fun to put down your buildings. You can also build walls, city walls of different kinds, which help you obviously protect your cities and your towns, and against especially bandit attacks. And the game has building animations, which kind of reminds me of games like Manor Lords and Anno, etc. So that's kind of nice to see as well. I like seeing my buildings being built. But on the other hand, you also have the story, the narrative of Nysamor. It's beautiful. It's an unknown land. There's rich in possibility and conflict, and you basically compete with other villages and kingdoms in this world to get resources, allegiances, sway others towards your way before they get swayed to Remaxa, your ultimate enemy. And you're basically exploring the consequences of the decisions that you make through various conversations, and you go down a path of benevolence or tyranny. Thrive's narrative event system immerses you in the land of Nysamor, discovering the true nature of the Whalegrim while ultimately defining your rule. And eventually, your path leads to advantages and challenges that go towards finally meeting Remaxa on the field of battle and either defeating or losing and starting all over again. So let's get straight to the point. Thrive Heavy Lies the Crown is primarily a resource gathering city building game. And through my experience, I've been able to see that, it is challenging in a lot of areas. You are basically managing a population's happiness, health, production. You're looking out for bandits that are going to attack Remaxa and the narrative kind of storyline that's progressing there, where you discover where the Whale came from. What is the story here in Nysamor? All these characters that are engaging with you, and then that towards that end game, right? Going towards actually expanding out, developing an army, a military with lots of siege equipment and different types of units, and actually engaging in combat in the final battle against Remaxa and the capital as well. So there's a lot here that's going on. In my experience, I've really quite enjoyed it, actually. It's very challenging, much more challenging than I expected. I'm very thankful that there is a tooltip and tutorial system to get me through those first little hurdles, to get through that learning curve, to really get a grasp for the mechanics, to be prepared for the challenges that come up with production that gets stalled, with distribution issues where things don't go where they need to be going, or you're running out of things because suddenly the population is growing far faster than you expected it to, or there's a bandit camp that's actually got enough of a force to come and attack your town. Like, there's so many different challenges that you can go through, and that's where Thrive actually thrives, pun intended. There are lots of ways to develop your technology, lots of different regions to go and expand and build a new town, get new access to resources. Like, there are lots of ways to play this game, and with the added complexity, the layers of different ways in which you can progress, I've just had so much fun getting into it and just exploring it all. I think my favorite part about Thrive Heavy Lies the Crown, especially now versus where it was in the demo 6 months ago, is this choice that you have in your narrative and your story, and how that choice really has a weaving impact on the kinds of mechanics and buildings and units that you get access to. If you're going to be a evil, tyrannical ruler that takes advantage of its people, you're not just kind of taking care of them, you're actually kind of exploiting them to create a fantastical, weird, crazy army that's going to go after Remaxa. This is the only way we're going to survive. We have to basically play by their rules. Or you could be good. You could be benevolent, taking care of your people, sticking to the traditions that you came from, trying to survive in a land without compromising your values and defending your people, looking after their well-being, really kind of putting the onus essentially on making a kingdom that thrives in a good and positive way, in harmony with the land that you're kind of trying to survive in. So I really like that dynamic. I think that's a quite a unique mechanic in this game that not many other games are able truly to capture. So overall, Thrive Heavy Lies the Crown is a really nicely done resource gathering and city building game. It's going into early access, so there's still lots of bugs and issues to sort out, lots of updates to come in the future in the road to version 1.0 release. But, even though this is a sponsored video, and I do thank Playside Publishing and Zugalu Entertainment for allowing me to get early access and to sponsor this video as well, I've really enjoyed playing the game. I think that, for a 4X inspired world map with lots of AI villages and kingdoms, with the besieging castles, plundering trade routes, confronting fantastical Whale creatures, and placing city structures, gathering resources, setting up road networks, defenses, building a military. There's plenty to do here, all in a fully realized single player experience, or with the ability to play up to 4-player multiplayer. All of this is really quite well done. I've really enjoyed it. I think if you are interested in what you see here, you could enjoy it too. So there's a link in the video description for you to click through, find out more, and if you want to, buy the game as well. And that's going to be it for today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, give it a like and drop any thoughts or questions in the comment section below. Subscribe to more videos just like this, and thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.